Other question,
I'm sorry, Coral will not be attending?
the other question we're going to get is about the effect on other parks.
On other parks.
Elizabeth will be here.
Elizabeth will be here?
Yeah.
Okay, and Shirley Secunda, do we know?
There's Elizabeth. Shirley's not. This is the time of year she's with her family.
Okay, and
There,
do we know anything about Frederica?
yeah, she should be joining. She's
All
the one who posed the question that I asked Will before the meeting.
Oh, okay. And Ritu is not coming?
I don't know.
We don't know.
She
Okay,
doesn't say anything.
I see. All right.
Hello there.
Hey.
The Parks Committee for CB2?
Gardening?
Yeah.
Sure. That too?
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah, it's part of.
That's part of parks.
Come on in.
Come on in, sit down.
Yeah,
Parks. Please do sign in.
yeah, please sign them right here. And why don't you guys, yeah, I mean, here, come on up here.
Four lines on.
Okay, hi, everyone. Hi, welcome to the December meeting of the Community Board of Two Parks and Waterfront Committee. My name is Rich Cacapolo. I am the chair of the committee. Before we get started, I had two things. One, thanks for coming, and I know for all of you that meant not going to the tree lighting at Rockefeller Center, so thank you.
Oh, is that
Chris.
tonight?
Yeah, Chris was there. We love that one.
Can I hear my schedule?
Yeah, I'm sorry. And second, more serious, I never do this, but there was a passing of a longtime member of Community Board 2 this week.
Oh, Honey Klein.
Honey Klein passed. She was on the board when I joined a long time ago. She had been on the board a long time. She had left and had come back as a public member, I figured out.
Right, got it.
She was extremely knowledgeable and really welcoming to us when we started. And she had really, I guess she's most,
Come on in, you're welcome.
CB2?
Yes, it is.
I think Honey was most recognized for creating the Village Alliance.
Yeah, which is quite an accomplishment.
Started as, she volunteered to help out some of the merchants on 8th Street, and then she applied to create a business improvement district. No, there's Janine. Janine sent me the announcement. I was really,
Yeah,
I was really hit by it because, I don't know, passing of time, and Honey was really a big personality, and so.
she was a forceful lady. It's
Yeah.
hard to imagine her diminished. I think I did see her once on the street.
Anyway, that was it. So, but let's get started. We have two topics today, but before we do, let me ask the members of the committee to introduce themselves.
Betty Siegel, board member. Chris Diggins, board member.
Susanna Aaron, vice chair.
Let me see who's online there.
Elizabeth Gilmore.
Elizabeth is up there. Can please allow her, yeah,
Is she remote non-quorum?
remote non-quorum. I don't know where, oh, there's Ritu. There she is. Look,
Ritu
there's
is remote non-quorum.
Yep. That's another board member. Ritu's a board member and a member of our committee.
Hi there.
Yeah, hi. Janine, please introduce yourself. Janine is a former chair of the board, not a committee
Hi.
member,
Janine Kiley.
but she loves this committee, and so she often joins. And then we've got some visitors, some community members who have come to discuss the topics, I hope. And we have two topics, and then I'll introduce Will. We have, I'm going to do them in reverse order. We're going to have a visit with the Borough Commissioner Shimamura, that's Tricia, who's going to give us updates on park activities in our district. But while we wait for her, we were going to start with Will Morrison, sitting here to my left.
Hi, everybody.
He chose that seat, and I said, okay, you know, I usually sit
I
there.
don't know where to look.
I often find it shows like a thinning spot in my hair.
Oh.
So, yeah, so it's better to sit there. So Will is the, obviously the Washington Square Park Administrator. He's also, he's wearing two hats, not just one today, but he's
Only one.
Executive Director.
I only see one hat.
He's got one hat right now, but he brought another, he'll change it as he's speaking, because he's also the Executive Director of the Washington Square Park Conservancy. And he's going to talk to us about recent developments and changes in police presence in Washington Square Park. So just so everyone knows, we hear from our visitor, and then we're going to ask questions. Community board members get to go first, and then you can ask. And
Rich, I just wanted, it's Elizabeth. I just wanted to add one thing, which you probably forgot. You suggested that I've been the squeaky wheel about the 3 6th Avenue parks.
Yeah, Elizabeth, I want you to ask that question to Will and to Commissioner Shimamura.
Yeah, I've been whining about it for 10 years. And the last time I did, you said, why don't you come and whine yourself? So here I
Yeah,
am.
I was a little nicer than that, but I because I wanted you to have the context of Will's, conversation.
Yeah.
I think that has a big effect on the parks on 6th Avenue,
Yeah.
including Downing Street. And I hope you would convey some of yours.
Yeah, I don't walk, I happen to walk past the 6th Avenue parks all the time, so I see them. I didn't mean to exclude Downing Street. I just don't have the personal experience.
No, I was looking at Susanna.
Yeah, I attended a meeting of the Village Interagency Task Force where there was conversation about Downing Street.
And Therese if you recall at our, when we were talking about a district needs assessment, and we were talking about parks like Playground of the Americas, Therese said, doing stuff in Downing, and those people who use Downing will move down to Playground of the Americas. So, because parks knew there was
Problems there.
Anyway, sorry for the long.
No, that's all right.
Let me turn it over to Will. Will, please tell us how long you've held both roles.
Sure. As of November, it was 5 years. I've been at Washington Square for 5 years, which
Yay.
is crazy to think about. Came as the deputy administrator, but at the time there was no administrator, so I was essentially acting administrator, then became the administrator. And then in the spring of 2023, if I'm getting my years right, is when I became the executive director of the Washington Square Park Conservancy.
2.5 years.
So like 2.5 years. Yeah. And just to dive right in, I think to the item that's on the agenda. So I think most in the room are aware that there was a federal level enforcement operation that concluded in the park earlier in the fall. And out of that, the NYPD made the decision to essentially assign a detail of what is 30 police during the day, 30 police at night, with an eight officer leadership structure, essentially to split those tours and manage 30 officers per shift. And that's out of a command center that was stationed by the Arch, is now stationed by the Northwest Corner. And that was an NYPD decision. Certainly, they've been keeping us abreast through the Village Interagency Task Force as they can. But that has shown up on the park literally the day after, or really the hours after the raid concluded, or the enforcement operation concluded. And as far as I know, and I do want to be really clear, like, I'm not in the NYPD leadership structure. I'm a parks employee and an executive director of a nonprofit. What they've told me is that this is staying at the park until further notice. I have not been given an end date. The response coming towards me has been overwhelmingly positive about their presence. And it has some positive knock-on effects for folks like the Parks Enforcement Patrol officers stationed at the park, because it's allowed them to, for example, focus on enforcing park conditions, because there's additional support there from NYPD to focus on oath and NYPD level actions. And that is really the lay of the land as it stands. I have yet to receive any change in plans on that front. And, we welcome them every day at the park, and open up the park house for them as we need. And really, the only other thing I'll add is that, there's a new commanding officer of the 6th Precinct, for those that don't know. His name is Captain Nick Miner. He's wonderful. I have, he's onboarding for the whole precinct, not just the park. But I do have a meeting scheduled with him. It's kind of floating between the end of this week or next, to download on the park broadly. But he and I are already in communication a lot, and I expect that we'll have a wonderful working relationship, just as I did with commanding officers Zykel and Spataro before him. And it is through Nick and through the NYPD that I would receive any updates on this detail at the park. That is succinctly the answer. And I'll add that what NYPD again has shared with me, and they share a lot of these details as well at the community council meetings. that the NYPD Community Council hosts. And much of the information here I'm regurgitating from those meetings. Nothing I'm saying isn't covered there. But they've been very open about sharing that the part of the reason for this is that, if you read the 20-page indictment, these were two overlapping narcotics groups, one of which had been in the village for 25 years. And after this operation, they are worried about essentially a vacuum being created, and part of the rationale given has been to essentially stabilize not just the park, but the entire area that this affected, which includes 6th Avenue and the corridor from 3rd to 8th Street and the blocks in between, from that occurring again. Now, again, that's what I've been told, and that as a lot of the rationale there. I think I'll probably put a pin in it there and open it up.
Well, I'm just wondering if, because we saw Commissioner
Yep,
Shimamura.
she's on.
Oh, great.
Do you want to go to her?
She didn't want to be seen. She wanted to hear Will talk without.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for joining. We can't hear you yet. Thanks for joining, Commissioner.
We can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Soon, almost. Did you get pulled over?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet. We can't
Can't hear you yet.
Speaking of cops.
Can we hear anyone? Janine, can you speak to, yeah, we can hear you, right?
You can hear us, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We can hear
Yes.
you, Ritu, yeah. But, yeah,
It's just the commissioner who's now
that's
fading
that
into
weird, sort of,
darkness.
that Maplethorpe photo where. he's-
Yeah, it was-
Yeah.
I missed it.
No, we just started and
We had just started.
I had asked your question in advance. The question that you had posted to me online, like why, do you mind if we ask questions at this point?
Sure.
Why was it, well, you go ahead.
Wait,
Why the federal question?
she's gonna log out and come back in.
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, you did. You asked me online, you said, why did it take a federal,
Oh, yes, that was a while ago, yeah.
like,
And again, I should say, I'm not an NYPD, so I don't know the intimate details of this, but my understanding is that, if you read the 20-page indictment, almost all of these folks that were arrested as part of this enforcement operation had criminal records and not light ones at the state level. And they had been arrested and some of them had served jail time, but yet were returning to the park in some cases within a week of serving their sentences undeterred. And if you read the indictment, it seems like they started engaging in the same activities at the park. So what I've been told is that essentially NYPD reached out and requested assistance. And I don't know the details of how that happened. I don't know if it was they were meeting about something else and this came up. But they essentially asked for assistance because there are different, and again, I'm also not a lawyer, but what I understand is there are different laws at play at the state and federal level. And for example, some of the recent changes to laws on the state level that might lead to folks getting out and coming back more quickly are not present at the federal level. So
What I thought I just heard you say, and I just walked in, so apologies. Are you saying that because they've taken everybody out of the park, that you feel there's a vacuum that's going to be filled by another group of people?
again, that's what I'm hearing from NYPD, and I think that's somewhat standard logic of if folks are moved out, yeah, then there's the opportunity for someone new to move in and do that same activity. Now, whether that pans out in reality, I think one could make arguments on all sides for that. But that's what I've been told.
So my husband and I had stopped using that northwest entrance to the park because it was just so unsavory. And a couple of weeks ago, we decided we would enter in that direction on a Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And what we found was a bunch of kids and young families drawing the trees.
Yeah.
And it was unbelievable. It was like an exorcism of the space.
Well,
And I thought it was brilliant
thank you.
because it was cured by programming.
Yeah, and that has been there the whole time, right? So I do want to be clear that this this enforcement operation was sort of a flash in the pan, but at the tail end of a season, mainly through the Village Interagency Task Force, where a ton of non-enforcement methods and mechanisms had been deployed that were making progress in terms of the quality of life of that corner, whether it was from a horticultural perspective and pruning trees strategically, getting light in so plants would grow again in that space, clearing sight lines so you could see the rest of the park when you walked in there, whether it's from a programming perspective. I mean, the Washington Square Park Conservancy issues a micro grant to that group, Tree Wonder, for them to, we sponsored the whole fall series. So that event you saw was part of that micro grant program. We also, during the majority of the season, had 3 artist residencies running, and we're issuing another micro grant to another group of folks. We were working with folks like Christina Economos, who's now one of the co-presidents of the Community Council on Scrabble tournaments, coming back to that plaza, which is actually named Scrabble Plaza, as well as using tools in the parks toolkit to bring further positive change and activity to that corner, such as standing up the vegan night markets that I was able to get in there once every other week for starting in I think maybe July of this year, and I really hope they're coming back for next season. And more permanent solutions. So through the task force and the ability of that task force to break down barriers and silos between government agencies, was able to push for a new permanent concession that's going to be, and I should say permanent mobile concession, permanent in the sense that they'll be there 7 days a week between April and November for the northwest corner. So if you know Thiru, NY Dosas, or what people call them, the Dosa Man, by the Sullivan Street entrance, amazing. We're going to get another specialty cart starting in April in the northwest corner. No, I wouldn't want to do that to Thiru. It's going to be Jamrock Jerk, the Jamaican jerk. Also good.
But then do you have to be prepared for them to infiltrate some other part of the park, and then you have to exercise that?
I mean, the answer is yes. I mean, that is essentially what NYPD is focusing on. They are trying to pivot, and not just at Washington Square. I mean, it's not like this operation has solved drug dealing in all of Lower Manhattan. And wherever, and we talk about it at the task force a lot too, whether it's enforcement or social services, because there's an entire social service committee. As of late, we've been talking about pivoting, some of where those providers are stopping in the neighborhood based on where the at-risk population has moved as a result of this operation. Because unfortunately, a lot of folks tend to go where they can, procure narcotics. And if that's no longer Washington Square, it's not going to be nowhere. It's going to be somewhere else. I don't at present know where that is, but we realize that and are pivoting. And by we, I mean the task force. Again, I am not NYPD and don't make those decisions.
Can I ask, were there incidents, I believe there were 2 deaths in the park?
There were 2 deaths associated with the operation. Neither of them were in Washington Square Park.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
And were those considered to be catalysts for the?
I believe so. Well, I would recommend anybody read the indictment, which is publicly available. It's got 20 pages. It's pretty dry, but also fascinating.
Good idea.
So the way they put this case together is they actually tied and this is going in the weeds a little bit, but they tied the bags, like the color and like patterns on these bags back to different operators, and the different rings had different bags. And one of the victims, who's, for those who've been in the community a long time, was Bethany. And who passed
On Greenwich Avenue.
Yep, exactly. And then the other person, the young person from Aspen, Colorado, died in a private residence, if I'm not mistaken. But in that case, the bags found on the scene matched of these operators, and the same thing with Bethany. And I believe in like a separate but related one is the one that's gotten a lot of press with Robert De Niro's grandchild and another actor or actress's grandchild, if I'm not mistaken. Again, my understanding is like through the bags, which is all of that information is very detailed in the indictment.
And it's the FBI?
No, DEA.
DEA. Okay.
And seasons 1 through 5 of The Wire.
It's
Do you want to go to the commissioner and pause?
Yeah, let's do that. There. Hi,
Hey,
Commissioner.
everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Look, I'm here. I'm happy to first of all, it's nice to see all of you, and I'm really sorry I'm not in person. You know that I like to be in person for these meetings. It's just during this time of year, we're just back to back and unfortunately just triple booked this evening. But I'm really happy to listen in and let the rest of this topic kind of be discussed. Will, I appreciate you being there in person. And then happy to talk about other topics as soon as this one's done. But I'm here, and I apologize again for my technical difficulties.
No, thanks. It's great to have you, and thanks for your flexibility on the schedule. Any other questions on this topic? To Will.
Does the park want the enhanced police presence patrols to continue?
Well, when you say the park, you mean
You and your capacities as head of a nonprofit and another employee of another organization.
So the first one, which is more straightforward, is the executive director of the Washington Square Park Conservancy, we don't really opine on the enforcement of the park. That is the realm of the city, right? I will say that we have gotten over, and I said, I think in a public email, that we received overwhelmingly positive feedback from the community about the police presence. I am clear-eyed that this will not last forever, nor would it probably be the right decision. That said, on the city side, this is NYPD's role and function as to where they assign, details and police. And this was an NYPD-led operation, and I'm thankful for it. I mean, I think this is the example just set at the table here is a win for the community and the users of the western side of the park and the park as a whole. Yeah, I applaud their efforts. And I mean, this was a 2.5-year investigation with undercover people. Like, people really put their lives on the line for it. I'm nothing but appreciative of their work, but ultimately it's their call. It's not Parks's call per se, whether NYPD officers are there.
Certainly, but would the Conservancy ask for more continued police presence, or is that something you never really opine on?
We never, the Conservancy does not make asks to NYPD about enforcement. And really, we fund Parks enforcement officers by issuing a grant to Parks, but that's an illustration of exactly what I just explained, which is that it's like Parks' decision and the city's decision where to allocate those officers and what they are focused on. That's not the purview of the Conservancy. I will say, we at the Conservancy, the tools in our toolkit are the programming, the horticultural donations that make that space beautiful.
Sure.
Fundraising for the maintenance staff and the playground associate and the gardeners to make all that work happen, and for physical repairs to the space if they're needed. So I think we would say, we look forward to bringing all of that back as the weather warms. And I think realistically, we will see how the park changes as the weather gets warmer and people come outside again.
You're projecting far too far in the future.
Okay.
It's just getting cold for the first time.
Yeah.
I wanted to express thanks for how you just described that. You made a very clear distinction between the role of the Conservancy and the role of the Parks Department. And I think that since people in the past had a lot of concerns about that double role, it's very helpful and encouraging to hear you describe that distinction. The things that the Conservancy does and does not do, and the things that are the purview of the Parks Department, and the things that are the purview of NYPD. So thank you for that.
Is there a question?
I got to follow.
No, it was a statement.
Share a compliment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Come on.
Unbridled respect.
As a man with 2 jobs who's sitting in front of me, neither of which of those jobs are at NYPD, are you aware of any increase in non-drug related, I believe the term is police civilian interactions, that have occurred as a result of this?
Not to my knowledge, really, not to my knowledge. Frankly, I see a lot of tourists taking photos with police officers, giving directions, the type of on the beat work that they are lauded for when done right. What I do know is that from a parks enforcement perspective, at the conclusion of this operation, there are now not nearly as many issues with open drug use, whether it's in the restrooms or on the western side of the park. And so it has made their jobs able to be done more effectively, because it used to be quite common where if they were giving a ticket for smoking, they would say, well, there's a guy with a syringe in his arm over there. Why are you giving me a ticket for smoking when that's occurring over there? And, you know, with this having concluded and with there being additional presence there, that excuse has been, you know, essentially nullified. I will also say that, like, again, it's just in across all of what the parks enforcement officers are responsible for, it's allowed them to be able to focus on things in the park a lot more clearly. Again, I think all the officers, I rarely speak for them, but it's, again, it's been a really positive development for them.
And have you, similarly to this, have you noticed a change in the enforcement stance on the sale or use of cannabis in the park?
A little bit. Frankly, the issue has gone down so much since the summer of 2022 or 3, whenever it was really at its sort of nadir or apex, depending on your viewpoint. At present, the issue hasn't actually been sort of in the top level of complaints we've gotten or issues that we've been facing at the park. On a lot of the vending fronts, actually, you know, I think we had a pretty darn smooth 2025 when it came to vending issues.
My last question, hopefully last question. We've had a lot of discussion on this committee about the vendors and the buskers and street performers.
Yeah.
Have you talked with them, or does anyone, their feelings have changed with this enhanced police presence?
I haven't spoken to any of them about the specific police presence enforcement, but again, I'll actually say, I mean, a lot of the folks who've been here previously, I've seen in the park throughout, you know, before, during, after, and they seem to be doing they seem to be busking and vending, abiding by the rules, and really the community that comes back over and over again to the park. Again, I think we've had a really smooth year with minimal issues.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Let me just to follow up before, has there been a reduction in PEP officers?
There has not, other than there's a planned seasonal reduction that just occurred the last day of November.
And what did the police do in the park? They walk around, they stand in certain positions.
So my understanding is that it's a little bit of what that 8-person officer leadership structure assigns on a given day, but I usually see a mix of fixed posts at various locations and mobile walking around the park. And I believe it extends beyond the park too. I think some of these folks are walking up and down Washington Place or Waverly Place, or, you know, up and down McDougal from 8th to 3rd Street. You know, it's fluid.
Sorry, I cut you off. Who's next?
I have a quick question, which is just, do you think that this quiet, happy scene that you describe in the park is all distorted by the fact that it's the end of November, beginning of December, and everyone's?
I think the big test for the park on many fronts on this quality of life improvement issue on the western side of the park will be seen come the spring, and what happens when the NYPD landscape and priorities might be different, when the weather warms, and when hopefully we will have an early spring and a return to warm, you know, programming hitting the ground running. I mean, my conservancy team is already working on the plans for 2026. I was speaking with Parks Revenue today, and the concession vending is ready to start, you know, April 1st. And we have interest in events in the corner. So I really, and, you know, we planted a ton of plants and bulbs in the corner for the first time in years, because there's now enough sunlight, because we'll be able to grow. And the Conservancy funded through a grant from Con Edison new ground hydrants and irrigation upgrades in that part of the corner as well. So my hope is that it'll be a really beautiful spring. But to your point, it is cold right now. Folks are going inside from parks broadly. And, you know, I wouldn't be painting a full picture if I didn't say that wasn't a part of the calm.
Do you remember maybe 6 or 8 months ago, the dancer with the long hair?
Yes.
That she had a proposal to make about enforcement, the rules and enforcement of the rules.
Yeah.
And I wonder where we stood on.
That is still with our legal offices, as I think we and both Tricia and I outlined at that meeting. Those rules don't just affect Washington Square. What she's requesting are changes to rules that would take effect on all 30,000.
Meantime, is there strict enforcement, or is it more lenient?
No, I would say neither. I would say, part of what came out of that meeting and had even been done prior to that meeting is that there was a greater amount of communication directly between the vendors and folks at the Parks Department. Not only that, a lot of education and some simplified infographics essentially, where we did essentially all the spatial math for everybody and have a clear list now of where if you're using a table, which Konami does not, you were able to set up and be in compliance with all the spatial rules, and for Konami just very clearly explaining the rules to buskers who are not using tables. And again, since that conversation, the summer, I mean, we had a very smooth summer. I mean, the same issues that were happening in previous years were not happening. And I think that lends itself to the two prongs of communication and trying to do what we can under the existing rules and regs for these buskers and artisans that we love and are a part of the fabric and history of the park.
Great answer. Thank you.
I think Janine has a.
I'm going to open up to Janine and Ritu and Elizabeth. Have the police know about the upcoming pillow fight each year?
Rich, that hasn't happened in years.
All right. Ritu, did you have a question? It's sometimes hard to see a hand. Okay, bye.
No, I'm good.
I guess I don't have a question. I know it's too early to say anything, but I do want to say it makes a big difference. I am often in the park shortly after sunrise and I feel safe. And I've been there on some nice mornings. I've walked the perimeter, I've walked with my dogs, and it's a major difference. I mean, a year and a half, 2 years ago, the 6th precinct guys were like, you really shouldn't be walking in there at that hour by yourself. I just want to say it makes a big, and I know there's a NYPD truck or car parked overnight on the east side, but even the patrolmen who are women and men who are in the park, they're from different parts of the city. I always ask where they're from, but they're doing a great job and they're actually patrolling around, not just sort of all standing together in one spot. So if you could share that, I think it's amazing. I hope it lasts. So thank you.
I walk by every Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Not to paint the trees, and it's imposing. I mean, you see 30 police officers lined up on the north side of the park.
Yes, their muster every morning is quite a display.
I have a question. We had a meeting some time ago where there were people who wanted to have off-leash hours for their dogs. There was a question about the citywide policies about that. And there was a sense that the reason it can happen and do you know anything further about that?
Yeah, I mean, the policy at the parks level remains that if your park has dog runs, there are no off-leash hours. And we have 2 wonderful dog runs. And I think the last time I met here, I mentioned that we'd signed a license agreement, and a lot of what the Conservancy has been doing since that meeting has been sort of standing ourselves up and getting comfortable as the licensed partner of the park. And part of that was, the Dog Run Association folded into the Conservancy. And so we've been taking over the maintenance and the volunteer operations for the dog runs. And one of the first and loudest comments was, has this park ever explored upgrading the gravel, the dusty, there you go. And people said things in less polite terms to potentially upgrade it to synthetic turf a la what's it, Domino Park or Madison Square or Hudson River. And we are exploring that. I think that similarly, a lot of the folks that do have this off-leash condition has gotten worse.
It has.
It has. And
so there are people still
every morning on the northwest lawn, and Parks Enforcement is aware the fixed post Parks Enforcement doesn't start until 9:30 in the morning. There have been requests submitted for an early morning canine detail because we do have 2 wonderful dog runs. There's no real reason that they shouldn't be used other than folks either don't know and assume that there are off-leash hours, which, first time I get it. Like if you moved here from the Upper West Side and you're used to Central Park, like I get it. But after the first round of education, that really shouldn't be the case any further. And then there's this other category of person who has received tickets in the past from Parks Enforcement and will continue to do so because they don't like going to the dog runs because they are dusty, dirty, they feel that they are not unsanitary. And I must say that, now the Dog Run Association, formerly, now the Conservancy, we pay a not insignificant amount of money twice annually to get them fully tilled and deodorized. They do meet sanitary standards, but I understand that on a summer day when it hasn't rained in a couple days and it's dusty, and you don't want to, if you're walking your dog on your lunch break, you don't want to go back to work with dust on your,
Sidewalk.
So I do think too, that if we're able to make this turf upgrade happen, which of course I would come back to all of you and present on when we know all the details, how much it's going to cost. And well, thank you for the vote of support, but I think it would also help that problem.
As long as it gets the people out of the, yeah.
Exactly. I think it would actually help
That's their whole
solve
thing.
the issue. So that's the long-winded answer.
No, but thank you. It's helpful to.
Can I turn over Elizabeth? Do you want to ask your question about, I see a check coming through.
Slim.
I see Elizabeth. I want to give Elizabeth a chance to ask the question. She's been asked.
I'll be very, very brief because most people here already have heard this many, many times for years. I have two questions. One, the 3 parks on 6th Avenue, they're all small parks. Golden Swan, Moneta Triangle, and Moneta Green are virtually always locked whenever I walk past, which is frequently. They're just not open at all. So that's my first question. What happened? Because that didn't used to be the case. The second thing is, I think with minimal money, a lot more, there's space for a lot more seating in there, with minimal capital costs. And I used to look at these triangles at the intersection of 9th Avenue and 14th Street. I think maybe a Green Street's parklet there, and I thought, who's ever going to sit in there? And lo and behold, all you have to do is put on a few benches and a few bushes, and people sit there and enjoy them. And that's in the middle of a lot of traffic. These, especially in the summer when it's really hot, are well shaded places.
Do you want to answer the question, Will, or pass to?
Well, I'm going to pass to Borough Commissioner Shimamura on that one.
Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. So, Elizabeth, thank you so much for the question. It's really nice to meet you. Hopefully I can meet you in person one day. I want to just say, and I was going to say it later, but Rich, and I hope this committee knows, we've actually been paying a lot of attention to those 3 little spaces, and maybe a little bit more because of Churchill too, and Downing right over there. Because of just a lot of increased drug use, a lot of increased garbage, just the area had a lot of rat holes. And in general, we've been, Will knows because I've been leaning on him, even though it is definitely outside of his scope, to add resources from Washington Square Park and help us out along that corridor. I can definitely look into why they're closed. And if you feel like they're closed more often, then, the truth is that we were closing down some of them a little bit infrequently in order to cut off that as being a reliable place for drug use. And that's not something that we do frequently, and definitely not on playgrounds. We know that some places being a regular place where people are regularly using, one of the very few tools that we have we have available to us is this idea of kind of closing down it a little infrequently so that people can't reuse it think of it as a reliable place. It shouldn't be happening. I'm happy to look into this a little bit further. When it comes to benches and particularly in some of those areas, you would think in some cases, yes, it's easy to put benches, but oftentimes like for Moneta, Moneta Green, I think specifically, we've got some accessibility issues there and the pathway kind of widening pieces. So it actually will require a little bit more of a capital project over there. So I think it's great to kind of think about in the future. We're definitely not done with that area. If you looked at Churchill, you would see that there was a very different kind of horticultural plan going on over there just in this last fall. That's in part because we wanted to increase visibility. We wanted to make sure that this is, and it's still happening, I know, but we wanted to try to give this little stretch more attention, and kind of every single staff member on our team is trained in Borough RX over there. Our entire horticulture team did a blitz of those 3 spaces, like you mentioned before. Myself did walkthroughs. My chief of operations did walkthroughs. I had my deputy chief of operations do walkthroughs. We leaned on Washington Square Park to help us specifically think about Golden Swan. We repainted the kiosk that's been not abandoned, but closed up over on that corner. We've been pulling out cobblestones along West 4th Street basketball court right over there because we didn't want trip hazards. So we are paying a lot of attention to that corridor. It's not done yet. Happy to take back your feedback, and certainly I want to see it open. But chances are, if you've seen that it was closed or like the hours were off, it was because we were trying to just.
Can I tell you the thing about Downing Street?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Borough Commissioner. I think you touched on it, but Susanna had a question.
I attended the meeting of the Village Interagency Task Force, which Will goes to as well. And there were a lot of complaints about Downing Street as a drug den. One resident said it would really help if the park could be locked earlier. Right. And it seems that sometimes it doesn't get locked at all. That was an observation. Not my personal observation. It was just feedback from the meeting. So I'm passing that along to you.
Thank you. So we definitely serve on that same Village Interagency Task Force. We're always on there. Downing Street, I think what people are calling Downing Street is actually what we call Churchill, because Downing Street Playground is around the corner. So, but potato. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's definitely, I've been there several times this summer when at the height of summer. I agree. That's probably why, again, the community may have been noticing some like weird closings, was because we were trying to kind of, again, throw off people's regular reliance on this space as a place that they could do drugs. We'll continue to look at this. We are really working hand in hand with the PD and with others to try to address this, because certainly we don't want to. We have to work hand in hand with the PD in terms of like safety and drug use and that sort of thing. But definitely we'll take that back. We're not done with this corridor.
One other feedback from the Village Interagency Task Force was there was curiosity about whether we would ever have stronger gates at Washington Square Park. And I know that I shouldn't even raise that because it's always been a hot potato, but there were people who were concerned about that. Just passing that along.
Just say that, I'm sure that Will can talk about this and we'll talk about this at length, but Washington Square Park has a lot of like landmark status to it. And so while it's not impossible to think about that for the future, there's a lot more hoops to go through. Also, the type of gates that would be worthy of Washington Square Park are not your standard chain link fence gates. We're talking about something that's like cast iron, beautifully like kind of built out in a way that frankly is extraordinarily expensive. Again, not that it can't be done. Definitely want to hear it. And particularly when we have good partners and we're kind of just dipping our toe into things. I'll tell you though, first priority for me is before we get to cast iron beautiful gates, I really want to see that playground redone. Frankly, my children want to see that playground redone. So I'll just be in full disclosure, not that we have any money for it yet, but like I would really love to see that playground go under a capital project as like a top priority for myself and I think for the families that are around that area. So we'll definitely take it back though.
Just to follow up, I can appreciate also that Washington Square Park poses a couple of other problems. One, you have this enormous arch space, how you're going to close that. And also any gate that you put there, we have our gates are 4 feet high. Nothing's actually designed to prevent someone from entering. I remember years ago, the NYPD used to say that the French barriers, those things, prevented the NYPD from being able to issue tickets because people could move them out of the way and then the next person who walked through them could just say, I didn't know it was closed. So I don't know if there's gate links, fences that at least allow a sign to stay.
Right. So just to back it all up, the only thing on the books from the community board at this point was not in support of gates, right? So we need this community board
How old is that?
It's about 14 years old.
That's old.
But it is the one that is still on the books. So we would, from both sides of my role, because as a licensed partner, the Conservancy can help fundraise towards these goals, whether it is a playground, which those playgrounds are from 1992. I would love to upgrade them, as the Borough Commissioner mentioned. But again, like, we need to hear support from the community to do these things. From a design standpoint, as Borough Commissioner Shimamura mentioned, we do have designs they would not be your standard gate, though we do have designs for them from way back when. They have not been quoted in terms of material costs in 15 years. So it's not, it's not insurmountable. You're right. The arch entrance would be an even more custom solution. It would likely be an accordion situation, or like folding, or there are two designs. One is sort of like folding, like panels that would go across. It's possible,
But it's complicated.
It's complicated, and you're right. Those designs are not much taller, like at their apex, than the perimeter fence around the entirety of the park. However, when I go by there at night, and sometimes I go to dinner with my wife, and we walk back near the park close to midnight, and like, you don't see anyone I've never seen anybody hop the perimeter fencing. So height, is not really the only preventer there. I mean, they would have to aesthetically match if we were going to put it in front of the Landmarks Preservation Commission, which we would absolutely have to do as part of this. And I think that I think it would be helpful, because to answer your specific question, right now, what essentially happened is, back with Captain Spataro, the first commanding officer I was around here for, back when there was that big meeting in the bottom of Our Lady of Pompeii, where essentially, like, the park needs to be closed again. It's really gotten out of control. The decision, and it was verified, that if we put the PD barricades, but then added essentially chains with locks, then yes, they are still designed, French barricades are designed to be hopped over, right? Like, it's designed so that if a police officer needs to get over that barricade quickly, they can do so. But if you do chain them and you create what is a barrier, then really what it allows them to do, a lot of the police officers and the commands have the key, as do Parks Enforcement. And if they see folks in the park after hours, they now know that you had to have hopped a barrier, and there is a sign at every entrance that says the opening hours. So they just have the confidence to say, you didn't go in through an unopened barrier and didn't know that you weren't supposed to be in there. You need to leave, and if it's up to their discretion, of course, but they can issue a summons for being in the park after hours.
Chains are up there now? Oh, I see. Okay.
Every evening, NYPD and Parks Enforcement go around and they lock and chain each entrance, and I hand weld them myself and repair them as needed.
That sounds good.
Janine, did you have your hand up? You're off our screen now. I thought it was up.
Oh, yes, I do. Sorry, let me come back. I just wanted to, sorry, I had technical difficulty, so I had to leave and come back. I still do. I still do, yes. I just wanted, it's like an old topic, but I just want to suggest that you also take a look at Tompkins Square Park Dog Run. I am also a regular user there, and it's, especially the small dog run, it's a great space. And so
agree.
Yeah.
That's where I live over there. I love the small dog run.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of folks over there, and the Borough Commissioner would know more than I, but I think they have similar aims and hopes for a turf run over there.
They are. Yeah. They are. We are undergoing another capital project over there to turn that more into synthetic turf, as is the real popular choice these days for dog runs.
Okay. I'm sorry, Chris.
Yeah. So I guess I kind of have to make it as a statement, just because there's not really a question here, since I know the ultimate answer is obviously going to be no, but you guys have made a really great case for a safe injection site under the domain of parks, because if the overarching concern is that people could use drugs in any park, and the ultimate reason that people use drugs in any park is that it's a third space where they can be and do whatever it is that they want to, you guys should probably be providing safe injection sites in order to guarantee that people who want to use the park for a park can stay out of a park and not use drugs in a park. And yet, as I said at the beginning of this, I already know that's not happening.
That's a new one. I've never been asked that question, but
That's a question. I know you're not going to say yes.
Yeah.
The question was, will you your office?
Hey, where can we do drugs that aren't parks?
Yeah.
It's not we.
Borough Commissioner.
Yeah,
I don't even know if that's.
I don't think so.
it's
Okay,
per-
so I'm sorry.
It's
So
obviously,
Not a parks.
we talked about siloing too. It's this obvious DUMH and parks are looking to solve the same problem. Like when people are doing drugs in public, the obvious solution is for people to not do drugs in public. Of course, DUMH would be in charge of that, obviously, and parks would be the direct beneficiary since people would finally stop doing drugs in parks.
Oh, got it. Okay, so I understand now. So essentially saying that like this is the strong argument for why we should have more safe injection sites.
Yeah, but also it's not legal on a federal level. So I know that it's not your responsibility on multiple levels, but obviously you're making a really great case for you guys being in charge of safe injections.
Yeah, so I mean, unfortunately, you're right. So I can't, like, it's outside of my realm. But what I would just say is that there is a safe injection site in New York City that's on point.
In Harlem, yeah.
So
That's where we are.
So we do actually work very closely with On Point. I've been at the safe injection site myself twice to do tours and to because they are one of our social service providers who actually do syringe pickup for us in some of our parks. And so it's something that really is led by DOHMH. You're right about that. I appreciate your sentiments, but I'll just tell you that to the extent that we do have social service providers who are providing that service, we work very closely with them. And actually, was it yesterday or today? I was on a call with them talking about another park, another area, but very much are kind of in close coordination there where it is available.
All right, let me go back. Is that okay?
Oh, that's it.
To Will, and,
No, of course.
can you talk about other upcoming events? Because, and then I want to be able to talk about.
Yeah, of course.
I also asked about Jefferson Market Garden.
Well, get that first. Let me finish the book.
Yeah, I mean, I have like just some other updates on the park. At this point of the season, as folks have long noticed, that we've turned off our water features for the season, whether it's the fountain, the dog runs, the water fountains. Our holiday decorations are up or in process with events on the horizon. So the tree arrived courtesy of the venerable neighborhood association, the Washington Square Association, that arrived yesterday. We, on the Conservancy side of things, added the wreaths and the pine garlands around the perimeter of the park. We have the tree lighting coming up, which I know Sugar brought some photos, and we have at the park house as well. Is on Thursday, December 11th at 6 p.m. at the Arch Plaza, again, hosted by the wonderful Washington Square Association. We have menorah lighting, and the menorah will arrive on the 14th. And then on Monday, the 15th, will be a menorah lighting at 5 p.m. in Garibaldi Plaza. That's hosted by Chabad House Bowery. And then we also have caroling at the park on Christmas Eve, also hosted by the wonderful Washington Square Association. And then we also, in other updates, I think I mentioned it earlier, but we've also completed a lot of our planting for next spring, and are really looking forward to all of our bulbs and plants coming to life.
Mark, can we get all those? What do you need to post all those events on the website?
I will get the information to Mark.
Okay, where I can just post this.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that all right? Perfect. He'll take a grab of it. He'll scan it, and post it on the.
And then really the only other updates I think I've already mentioned, but on the Conservancy front, we're talking about this dog run project. We've also launched some of our dedication programs, and another facet of the license agreement that is up on our website. We're going to go through a little bit more of marketing for that. We've been transitioning it over from parks, but folks can adopt a bench plaque or a tree guard or honor a loved one with a plant.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is an income stream for us, and all of those dollars will stay at Washington Square Park, which is wonderful. And we are also separately, we've sort of outgrown our original branding and our more mature organizations. So we're working on a organizational rebrand that'll roll out in the spring as well, which we have the ability to do through the license agreement as well. Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, we're working on our suite of programming for 2026, which is very exciting.
On the dedication, we've dedicated plant or
yeah.
We've done that a couple times in other parks. There was JJ Walker Park.
Sure.
And Jefferson Market. No, I'm sorry, not Jefferson.
Well, I think Abingdon Square has benches.
Yeah, Abingdon Square and Jackson Square.
Jackson Square.
We learned a valuable lesson. Not everyone likes it because they think they're supposed to have passed.
Well, that is a misnomer. We
Yeah,
get
I just
you
for
get the fun, the good, and the sad.
Yeah.
You get everything from engage. We've already had an engagement come in, some memorials come in, and then one that was just like celebrating a dog. So it really runs the gamut.
Now, remember, we got one for Toby, and he was so upset.
Toby Bergman?
Oh, Toby.
JJ Walker, and he was sincerely, I don't know what the right word, he was flattered, but he thought it should wait till he passed.
You can do one for me. I've always wanted.
Thanks.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, he was,
Seconded.
do you remember, Janine might, he was, so yeah, we had to undo it, at his request. So,
You had it removed.
yeah. Any other questions for Will? I want to be able to, Janine's laughing. Do you remember that?
I don't remember, but that is so Toby.
Oh, my God. We always tease them.
Question here.
Yeah, please.
This is my first meeting. I don't know if this is.
Welcome.
Good time, yeah, ask Will, and then I want to let him go.
I've noticed.
Could you say who you are?
I'm Mark Sherman. I'm a new resident in the community.
Welcome.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Moved in last year.
Welcome. Great. Welcome.
And I'm noticing lately that the rats seem to be out of control.
Yes.
Square.
Good question.
Yes. We are approaching rat mitigation
Particularly the
season.
park.
Yeah.
Rats live cyclical lives, and we go heavy on our rat mitigation system, which Borough Commissioner Shimamura mentioned is the Borough RX system, which is, so we don't use pesticides in parks, period. So we don't poison rats with chemicals, because if the red-tailed hawk of the park ate that red-tailed hawk would pass. We don't want that. So we use a Borough RX, which essentially turns rat holes into a gas chamber, to put it bluntly. But we have to wait for it to be most effective. You have to wait until you have a little bit of leaf drop and a lot of your mounds are clear so that you can see all the holes. Because essentially how it works is it's a motor with carbon monoxide gas on it that smokes monoxide. You stick the hose in the hole, the smoke comes out of all the holes that are associated with that burrow, then you go around and plug all the holes up, and then it becomes a gas chamber, essentially.
Love that.
And that's how it works, and it's very effective. But literally, like, the team this week was revving it up, and as the Borough Commissioner mentioned, we've been using our resources to also help train and triage in other parts of the district, which need it just as much as Washington Square. But that's not lost on us, and there is a plan, and it is being executed upon, and it happens annually. The heaviest time of year to do it is really from like now-ish through to about February, and then we keep an eye on it through the spring, and then we actually do more of it in the summer when, funnily enough, like the summer allows opportunities to do it because we have a lot more staffing in place later on in the evening. So we have more resources to allocate to something like rat mitigation because we have more people taking out the trash and cleaning the bathrooms and all the things that might attract rats in the first place.
Great. Thank you
Is
very
that a
much.
good
Yeah, of
answer?
course.
That was
Absolutely.
a full answer.
5 years.
I just noticed a bunch of rat burrows at Bleecker Street Playground, the park of
Yeah, for sure.
Bleecker Playground.
And you can actually, I would recommend to anybody, you can flag that in the 311 app, whether it's at Washington Square or any other park, as a park level complaint. And it actually does help us. So we are very lucky in District 2 to have trained, with the Borough Commissioner's support and the Chief's support. We've had a lot of people trained in the Borough RX and have access to them. For other parts of the borough, there is also a roving team of exterminators for Parks Manhattan, and they do go where they get the complaints. So, submit that 311, and I highly recommend, if you're new to the neighborhood, or I don't know what your familiarity with 311 is, but
I know
definitely.
what 311 is. I don't know about the app.
Yeah, definitely. The app is way less stress, way better for your blood pressure than
Waiting on hold.
It is simple to use.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where do they store the?
I wanted to ask about,
Good.
I had a question for Commissioner
Yeah, but
Shimamura, but maybe the timing is not right.
Yeah, let's just wrap up with Will. I was looking back at our district needs requests. We had,
Oh, sure.
support for you for the dog runs, and
Oh, wonderful.
yeah, we did put that in. And there are other things in Washington Square Park where this was really yours for anything around safety and lighting, water irrigation system, shade tree seeding, maintenance funding, rat mitigation, which includes the special trash bins, right? The
It
rat-
does. Those do need to be replaced, through the Conservancy, we've been planning now, as the licensed partner, like we've been building yearly rotations of some of those assets in. So like we're every year, we're going to be replacing 8 trash cans, for example. So over the course of about 8 years, every trash can will be refreshed. But are you asking about other new needs?
No, the big one I think we had was the limited gardening staff. And
Yeah.
right, and that there's one gardener for all of downtown or something.
Well, there's
Went out.
exactly. So for Washington Square, the Conservancy funds a horticulture coordinator and a seasonal gardener for the high season at the park. And then we also have additional horticultural support at Washington Square Park. For the rest of District 2, there is one city gardener, level 1, that is now filled by a wonderful person named Nye. And Nye's been getting up to speed in the district very well. He's been a great addition to the team. But I would let the Borough Commissioner speak to the needs at the district level as a whole.
Okay.
It is a goal of the Conservancy to fundraise for more positions at Washington Square, whether it be horticultural, maintenance, enforcement, or recreational, like our playground associate. So.
We got a hand up there.
Yeah, I see, Jeffrey, you have a hand up. Thanks for pointing that out. Jeffrey, can you hear us? We're going to allow you to talk. Yeah, okay.
Yes, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please,
Okay.
question. I saw your comment about the gates, so if you want to touch on that.
Well, I'll let the comment go, but the thing I was getting concerned about is that at the Vesuvio playground for a month now, there has been a mound of I guess compost, or not compost, mulch that was dropped off. I saw Coral Dawson at one point a few weeks ago and asked her about it, and she said that the Partnership for the Parks had delivered an oversized order. I guess they did it with a dump truck. Much of it got removed, much more than they actually needed at Vesuvio. Overall, on the other hand, on the 6th Avenue at the Soho Park, they could certainly use the mulch there. But this mound is still there, and I'm concerned that you're talking about rats. I'm concerned that we're going to start having a rat problem.
Oh, yeah.
Hiding in that mound, especially before the winter when the ground gets frozen. This week will be already difficult to remove.
Check that out.
Jeff,
For a younger man, I would be moving it myself. But at my late 70s, I'm no longer going to do that.
Please don't. Yeah.
Jeff, I'll reach out to Regional Manager Therese Flores and ask her about it, and I'll relay the answer to Mark.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a temporary situation.
Right.
Thanks. And the only other thing was, yes, what I wrote about the gates. I'm not in favor of gates in Washington Square Park.
Oh, I don't know if she's on.
Yes.
Mark, is Tricia Shimamura on?
She was.
Dropped off.
She's raised her hand.
I'm on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sorry.
Just
We
lost
couldn't
you.
see you, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My phone is going on low
That's
battery.
okay.
I'm off screen.
Let's get you right away. Let's turn over the floor to you. You're welcome to stay, or you can.
Oh yeah, go for it. I'll hang out.
All right,
Okay,
bro.
great.
Floor is
So
yours.
definitely will stay, just because if I have any more technical difficulties, I'm calling you so you can put me on speakerphone. So just stay on, please.
You got it.
But so to Jeff, thank you. We'll certainly follow up. As Will said, it should just be a temporary situation, but all of your concerns are very valid. So we'll make sure that we get right on that and figure out what's going on there. So my topic was really just to flag for you guys any updates around Jefferson Market Park, and then talk about other things going on in the district. I want to just say that it has been a very good summer. It was a crazy summer, particularly in downtown. I'll just flag that we had a lot of activity at Washington Square Park. As we just said, I talked a lot about 6th Avenue and what was going on along 6th Avenue there. And of course, we had just a really busy summertime. The efforts to try to right the ship with Jefferson Market Park and get them under some sort of agreement are still continuing. Davey Ives, who's our strategic partnerships, who leads our strategic partnerships unit. Strategic partnerships is really the unit that drafts all of these agreements of any kind. They fall under a kind of a citywide unit within our office, has been kind of leading this. I think he was actually on a previous CB2 meeting, so you all may have met him before. He is currently out on paternity leave, but we are very eager to see him come back to us. Right now, I think the last time we spoke about this, we said that there are a couple different potential pathways that Jefferson Market could fall under. One of them is a green thumb model, which I think is closest to what it looks like. So we have, there is a scheduled, I checked in on this, there is a scheduled green thumb kind of walkthrough happening soon to kind of look into that. But I will flag for you that while this summer has been extremely busy, the agency has also started to discuss kind of expanding our offerings of agreements with partner organizations. It is by no means first of all, it's not because of this, it's really for a lot of reasons, and it is by no means kind of finished, but it's really thinking about for the ways, because we have had a lot of requests from community groups of all types to help clarify what their roles and responsibilities and the nature of the relationship between them and the agency is. And so in response to that, the agency really has been trying to think through what it would look like to expand the different types of like MOUs, if you will, or other types of agreements that we have. So it's been an interesting moment to kind of think about Washington Market, just because I think at the same time, and in a slightly separate arm and wing of the agency, we're also kind of talking about what it would look like at a policy level to really expand the offerings. That's all to say that this is still, as I told you the first time, it's a slow moving ship, but it is moving forward. I think that come the springtime, once we have some of these site visits underneath the belts and hopefully just some clarity around the different opportunities and different pathways, we'll be able to come back to you in the spring of next year with a little bit more of a clear path options that are available. But right now we're still looking at either some sort of like I don't even want to say it, some sort of a green thumb agreement, which is what we discussed before, or potentially a new type of license agreement that we just haven't actually come out and formally kind of like made official yet.
Or before I turn over, or could it be more, what is it called that you have?
License.
Or would it be more of is licensing agreement a possibility?
You know, right now, what I'll just say is like right now we really only have one real option, which is what Washington Square Park Conservancy just received. And frankly, Washington Square Park Conservancy has been doing this for a very long time, as you all know, you just heard. So you have that, or you have green thumb, and there's really no in between. And we don't have that many organizations that achieve what Washington Square Park Conservancy achieved. And also, I would argue that it's not really the goal for everybody to have a license agreement for every single park there is. You know, that's not necessarily what we're looking to do. And so I think that but we do have a lot of groups that have a very, intimate relationship with the park, that are doing good things, that aren't necessarily in the same like role of a license agreement, but maybe it would be helpful to have an MOU style type of situation, or maybe there is something of like a lighter kind of version of this. There's a lot to kind of digest, and frankly, as I'm sure you understand because you all have seen this, it just takes a long time for both our legal team and also just like the ship that is parks to really like come out with something new. But there are these conversations happening right now. I'm afraid that's all I can really share, but I think it's actually a good thing. I think that for partner organizations, for groups that are doing good things and connected to the parks, it'll be a helpful tool once we roll it out.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. I can appreciate the interest of the Parks Department to try to find different models that better fit different situations. I think that my interest in Jefferson Market personally has always just been more clarity on their operations and what they are allowed to do and not allowed to do in terms of private use, privatizing use of the park. And the information available on their website and so on and so forth. So thank you for offering that analysis.
And Susanna, to tell you the truth, what the agency is trying to do and like conversations that are having right now around like potential new types of agreements and new MOUs and that sort of thing, while it's not directly related to Jefferson Market, what I will tell you is that like questions around enforcement, if you will, of rules, about transparency, about like how and like what tools we have available to really compel outside organizations to do things, to share certain information, or if we do have that authority, or if we don't, those type of conversations are definitely on the table, right? In terms of just like understanding a little bit about what we're being asked of by community members, just like yourself and others, and just also what we think is going to be, serve the park and serve the parks best. So
Thank you.
I definitely hear it. I warned, I think when Frederica asked this question before, I warned you that this is going to be like, we are not talking about months, we're talking about like a year, if not longer, to really move this along. So I will just confirm that it is a slow moving vessel that we're on here, particularly when we have limited capacity for our legal team and when our strategic partnerships teams are all having babies. But otherwise, I think that we're all like, I think that frankly, like it is still moving ahead, and I think that we are still having like everybody is eager, and I think I hope I'm probably overstepping by saying this on behalf of the garden group but I feel like in general I've just truly gotten the sense that it's in everybody's best interest, and everybody is very interested in trying to formalize things and like and bring some clarity to the table. So I still. Maybe it's naive, but I still think that this is the intent here across the board still feels like it's aligned. So I hope that I can come back to you in the springtime with a little bit more of a substantive kind of like layout of options and pathways and what would change and that sort of thing. But really and truly, all I can tell you is that there are meetings being set up. There are kind of conversations that are ongoing about both what happens with this group, but also what happens largely at parks with like kind of partner organizations and groups like that. And as soon as we get more information and as soon as things really get formalized, I'm happy to come back and share more.
Thank you. And I appreciate the effort, the ongoing effort. And yes, we do know that it's a slow moving vessel. Thank you.
Yeah. Before I give up the floor here a little bit, I did want to just tell you that, that there are a lot of things happening besides, Washington Square Park is obviously a big one, but because this is the last opportunity I'm going to get to connect with you all before the holiday season, I want to say that, besides what's happening on 6th Avenue, besides what's happening, the tree at Washington Square Park, you may have, I think I saw some of you actually, you may have seen us kick off our lifeguard recruitment at Washington Square Park this year. We are doing that earlier than we ever have before. We have already cleared, and I think it's like something like 60-ish lifeguards for the next season, which is kind of cool and amazing, and it's still going on. And so I want to flag that, like, I'm very happy to kind of see like park sponsored activity happening in the park. We're going to be kicking off Mulch Fest in Washington Square Park coming up. And then we'll have at least 2 sites in or around the district. Actually, Union Square is not in your district, but it's very adjacent to your district. But anyways, you get what I'm saying. We do have like we have a lot of kind of Mulch Fest sort of work that's going to be coming up. And then of course, as I said before, the work along 6th Avenue is continuing. I know, particularly for that Downing Street location, particularly for Churchill. I think Golden Swan, if you're there a lot, you will have seen the changes that I saw in that space. But Minetta is still on my list. Minetta Playground itself needs a complete renovation, just to like put it out there. That safety surface is ridiculous, and we really need to redo that entire safety surface. We really do. Father Demo, really the hex pavers around Father Demo really need to get redone. We have a lot of just pavers that are loose, and frankly, we really just need to redo all of those adjacent sidewalks. There's a lot that I have in terms of like aspirational hopes and plans, especially going into our budget season, which is going to really kick off in earnest at the end of January, and talking to our new elected officials, including our new borough president. And then hopefully we'll have some wins and some opportunities to celebrate some new capital projects going into our queue.
Borough President, everyone. Brad Hallman.
New Borough President, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Frederica.
So I echo what Susanna said. We're very appreciative of your explanations. I'm wondering if while all of the agreement ship is plowing slowly through the seas, if there's any changes that can be made to the hours of Jefferson Market Garden or the amount of seating while we're waiting for the agreements to be ironed out? Does nothing change in the meantime?
Actually, it's a good question. It's difficult, and honestly, Frederica, I want to be honest with you. I think that like with ours, if we end up going with a green thumb model with this, then essentially they are already meeting their green thumb, like their green thumb requirements. And green thumb gardens are only required to be open during the kind of spring and summer season. So quite honestly, until I get a little clarity, and it is coming in January, at least some of I'll be able to essentially check off whether or not this can go to green thumb. And so if that's the case, then frankly, no, I'm not gonna, you won't see a change in hours. Now, seating is interesting. I think I'd have to get back to you on that piece. But again, if it is going to green thumb and it doesn't open to the spring, then you wouldn't see a change in seating until like the springtime when it opens. If it goes under something else, then maybe there's more possibilities. But I want to kind of temper your expectations with this. I like so much of this is unfortunately really in partnership. I think I mentioned this last time. Green Thumb does not report to me. They report to our citywide commissioner. Our strategic partnerships is a citywide unit. So we really have to do this in partnership with them. So while I'm happy to take it back, and actually I wanted to just flag for you, Gabriella Must is on this call. She works in my office. She's a new hire. We're really excited to have her, and she's been taking notes this entire time. So Gabriella, I'm just going to ask for you to follow up. Let's follow up tomorrow and see if I can kind of throw that around to some of our folks to see if that's possible. I just want to be honest with you and say that I think in the short term, I wouldn't expect to see any sort of material changes, particularly in this December, January time. But I can look into whether or not there's any sort of modest changes that can be made in the early spring and see where we're at there. And I'm happy to come back in early in the new year. Obviously, I'm very happy to come to this board.
That sounds very good, but if there actually is sentiment at the community board, people who wish that the park were open more, then putting it under the Green Thumb program wouldn't actually solve that problem.
It would not. You're right. You're right. And honestly, we could really discuss this for a while.
That's not
just tough. Yeah.
Two requests for you, two requests for you from the floor.
Yes.
And Ritu has her hand up.
I'd like to invite you, Commissioner, to our Washington Square tree lighting and welcome you to say a few words.
That's on the
We
11th.
are opening at 6 p.m. on the 11th, and we will have a very interesting little program. And everyone sings, even those who do not sing. And it's beautiful, beautiful.
I'll be there.
I would just say thank you for that. First of all, you should never feel like you have to invite me through a community board. Will, just make sure that you can have my direct contact information. It's already on my calendar. I'm looking forward to seeing it. And it's really special. I shouldn't say I'm not going to. No, I'm not going to say it, but it's in my heart. It is a very special event. And thank you for everybody who has a hand in putting it together. It's quite a spectacular event, and it's really a distinct honor of mine that it happens in the borough.
Thank you. We'll think of you kindly as we are lighting the tree.
Oh, maybe.
Chris is committed to go as well. All right.
I'm going to sing very off key.
All right, that's great. And we had Ritu, did you have a question? And then I wanted to make one request from the floor.
Yeah, it was just a question for Will. So we don't have to take it right now. It's about volunteers in Washington Square Park.
Wonderful. Yeah.
No. Let's
do
the one for Trish.
You want to go? You want to explain? Oh, we have another one. I would show you. Can you see? I don't know, but.
Okay, so I'm here. I'm a citizen gardener and appreciate what everybody on the board does. And I keep in touch with it because I'm on all your email lists. So back in 2017, Shirley Secunda called for volunteers to farm these little plots that were created by the DOT beside the bike trail. And I chose the one that's right by the Jefferson Market Garden, which I have to compete with in terms of how it looks, and it looks pretty poorly right now. So I put this together to make an appeal for some financial support, because it's very expensive to be paying for the plants. I mean, I'm doing the labor and bringing the water over and yada. And Susan Sippos helps me with a lot of things too. So that's what my word is I'm putting in for. I don't know who to direct it to.
Sure. What's your name, sir?
Chris Bickford.
Chris, it's nice to meet you. And you're doing one of the green streets right next to Jefferson Market, you said?
Yeah, a little 3 foot by 6 foot, and mine is distinguished by a driftwood fence that is collected from the Hudson River.
Oh.
And wired together so that it protects the garden.
He's got a.
If you don't mind me taking this, I will scan it and email it to you tomorrow.
Great. So I mean, and first of all, you all are so sweet to call me Commissioner, but you can also just say Trisha, and Will always stumbles because he calls me Trisha in his real life.
I'm really connected.
I like to.
So let me just say, Chris, I hope you can hear me okay. So thank you for taking care of that little green street. I really appreciate it. And it's really I hate my answer because it's a little technical, but it kind of depends on whose property that green street is. If it's DOT's, then I'm going to be I'm going to be more limited in what I can offer, but I'm still happy to connect you with people. If it happens to be Parks, like a green street that Parks is responsible for, then I
It's not. It's not.
It's
DOT.
DOT.
Yeah, I remember when Shirley brought this up. I can't believe it was so long ago too.
Okay.
Thank you for 8 years.
What I'd say is that we do have okay, so I think the best thing to do is for us to talk offline around this one. We do for folks, we do have like twice a year in our volunteer parks. Partnerships gives out free plants, free bulbs twice a year. It's a great program. I think it has to be in a parkland space in order to receive those. I'm happy that you have a great borough commissioner for DOT. Her name's Danielle Zuckerman. She's new, but she's lovely, and I'm happy to make that introduction. I'm also happy to ask if Partnerships has ever given any plants away on those It's My Park Day events to any volunteers who are doing those green streets. So I think it's just better to have a conversation offline. Frankly, I think it's a perfect project for my PDC, Gabriella Must, to help follow up on, because then it'll help her learn a little bit more about the avenues of government here for this. But what I'd say is just thank you for coming out. Thank you for your volunteering. And if there's anything that we can provide to you, I can't give you money, but if I have plants available that are eligible, I'm happy to connect you with those. And if not, then I, at a minimum, will help to connect you with the people at DOT who can hopefully help get you some additional resources. But we really appreciate the extra effort that you put in. It's really volunteers like you that make the neighborhood so special.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I know Teresa's helped in spots as well.
Great.
Spots as well. So
thank you for that.
Yeah, I will scan this and send it to Gabriella, and I'll follow up with you as well.
Any other questions for Commissioner? I like to call her Commissioner because it makes her uncomfortable. So.
Yeah, it does make you uncomfortable. Thank you.
I always do that. Any other questions? There was whose hand is up? That was her hand.
That's hers.
Oh, that was just me.
Okay.
Quick question for Will, not for Trisha. Does Washington Square have a volunteer group for gardening?
We do. It is done for this season, so to speak, but we will be launching it in early 2026. And my volunteer coordinator, Jack, is going to be sending out some communiques through our newsletter system about it in the coming months for you too. Do you want me? I can get your email address too and send you some other stuff we have on dedicated programs, or you can visit.
That would be great, because there are lots of folks in my building that are quite interested
Wonderful,
I'll give you her, you'll know.
wonderful. I'll get your information, Rita, and I'll follow up.
Okay, it's just my first initial last name at, you
Yeah, I
can
got it.
email.
Okay.
Is your social.
And I promised Coral a question, Tricia, about Vesuvio. She just wanted to make sure you knew that in our district needs assessment, that we had talked about renovating the play and recreational facilities at Vesuvio, and I think you guys have been in agreement.
We have. I'll tell you that. I mean, if you couldn't tell, I really do. Your neck of the woods was not a neighborhood that I got to really work in very much outside of my time at the community board. So, the ability to try to go to as many community board meetings as I can to try to be in your neighborhood and to try to meet all of you and work with all of you has been something that I've been really trying to do as much as possible, as much as schedule allows. So actually, on the last It's My Park Day, I really went to Vesuvio and volunteered with Coral for the afternoon.
I don't know why.
I know very well about that mulch pile that needs to get removed. Don't worry about it. We'll follow up there. But I also know that the latch on the planting bed over there needs to get unwelded, which we'll work on with Coral. And I know that the garbage from the local restaurant next door needs to get taken care of and not on parkland. We're working on that. And in terms of the overall playground renovation, I'm definitely there. These playground renovations do take a lot of money. It's an insane amount of money, but I generally just kind of feel like, especially now when you see a new playground, when you see like age appropriate areas that are created in playgrounds, accessible playgrounds with for children with kind of sensory issues and concerns, and really that are like meeting their needs, are just so incredibly special. So it's definitely something that I hope that we can work on together. It's something that I'm deeply committed to. And I hope that, I think honestly, last time I was there, just a couple of weeks ago, Vesuvio was looking okay, but we still have a kind of bigger capital project to undergo there.
Messaging. All right, well, thanks. Both of you guys, I really appreciate it.
You're so great. Both of you guys are so great. You're so responsive
I'm
and
sorry, I see Pete,
knowledgeable.
I'm sorry, Pete Davies, I see you up there. Did you want to say something, Pete?
Let me unmute him.
There you go.
I'm sorry, I'm.
Great, thank you very much. Trish, I was hoping you could give us a update or a status on the transfer of the Elizabeth Street Garden to the Parks Department.
Oh my
that's
goodness.
a great question. Gosh,
Thanks, Mr. Davies.
Yeah.
So I believe that the transfer has happened. But it is park property. But there's a lot that happens with that after, even though that transfer has happened. You may not know this because I didn't know this before I came to Parks, but every Parks property is kind of inspected and audited on a regular basis. That's outside of my unit. It's like a third party kind of within Parks audit system. There's permitting kind of pieces where, like, if you wanted to hold a birthday party or if you wanted to hold a concert or something like that, all of those kind of decisions of like spaces and how they're supposed to be used and how appropriately they're going to be used need to get decided on. Entrance and egress issues to the park, accessibility issues to the park, all of these kind of things are kind of currently being discussed and digested. I know that our chief of operations, Ralph Mussolino, actually just recently had a visit over there at Elizabeth Street Garden just to have like an initial conversation around what that means. And I expect that over the next several weeks, there'll be more kind of conversations that kind of go into that. So yes, it is under Parks jurisdiction. That's just really the start of many other things that kind of have to happen. So happy to give you guys more updates. If you are a member of Elizabeth Street Garden, then chances are you probably heard about it because I know that a lot of members were at that kind of initial meeting to kind of go through just kind of the feel of this space. When you are working for the Parks Department, everything you look at is in terms of safety, trip hazards and things that kids can climb on, things that somebody could trip on or catch their arm on, or things like that, like dark spots, visibility, bushes that are completely toxic to animals or areas that like are going to harbor rats. That's literally all the things that we look at in the lens. And I'm being funny, but it's very, very true. I hope Will.
Oh yeah.
He's nodding.
So this is a space that we just have never, been in that way. And so all of those kind of initial kind of screenings of understanding what kind of immediately needs to get addressed or fixed because it, in our view, looks like a trip hazard or looks like a safety concern or things like that are things that we're kind of just having those conversations about right now. So that's kind of the level that we're at. But eventually we have a lot of other conversations around, yes, permittable spaces and closures and timing and park signs and all this other stuff that kind of take place. But we're just at the safety phase right now.
And so the actual transfer document, is that a public document that's available?
I'm sorry, I don't know. This happened really quickly for us, but I'm happy to get back to you on whatever is available. I truly don't actually know what the actual document is, or what's actually available to the public at this point.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Does it have to go? That's a good question.
Did it have to go through you? I guess it didn't have to go through you. That was one of the questions.
This did not. This did not go through ULERP.
Right.
That's all I've got. This did not go through.
I know it hasn't gone. There was a question raised about whether it needed to.
It was litigated and then it started the litigation process, right? And then they agreed
They backed down.
to not litigate it.
Right, and they gave him another location.
They gave him 3 of them.
They gave him
already
other
given them.
alternatives that were much bigger.
So we may never know if it actually does need to allow for the courts to weigh it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that's right. I don't know, I can't see if Janine's on. She may have had Janine, did you want to weigh in?
No, I think Trisha pretty much put all the facts in place, but I am thrilled personally that it will be a New York City park because that's the gold standard for park space, and it's always what had been my preference. So thank you.
That's a good way to end. That's a good way to end the conversation unless anyone else has a question or anything else you guys want to say. I really appreciate you coming.
I have something. I'm in favor of Elizabeth Street Garden being made a park, but I am concerned because it's my understanding that to be mapped as a park, and I know this only from our own experience from LaGuardia Corner Gardens, to be mapped as a park requires a ULERP process, a zoning change. And I don't see how it can be de facto done safely and securely without that. And that's what worries me, is that what can be done easily might be undone easily. And I would like to see Elizabeth Street Garden, as well as LaGuardia Corner Gardens, mapped permanently as parks, because I understand the nature of preservation about it. The state would have to demap us as for alienating purposes. And so there's a lot more protection if you are mapped as a park than if you're simply being handled under the jurisdiction of the Parks Department and you're still remaining under the zoning that currently exists in the area.
Okay, that's my question. I know that in order. Sorry, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Something just odd happened with my phone, but from what I understand, and forgive me because I really because this is all happening in real time, and because this really does go above my head. I'm happy to come back with more information. But from what I understand, the current state of the park, the Elizabeth Street Garden, is that in order to do anything other with any other purpose for it at this point, other than parks purpose, it would take an act of state legislation. So I will just kind of confirm that's my current understanding of the situation. But I'm happy to come back with a little bit more prep and a little bit more background with other folks who are on my team who are a little bit more closely involved in this.
I hope so.
That was what I was going to say, that in order to alienate parkland, it has to be a state process, but yet it seems so casual to make it parkland. compared to
Yeah, that's.
unmaking it park.
There are some unanswered questions to me about what the process is, but we don't have.
Legacy.
this.
All right, well, I don't think, we'll see what happens with the new administration may have.
Right.
All right,
I can only tell you, in the case of LaGuardia Corner Gardens, we tried to get mapped as parkland, back when, before Commissioner Silver, that long ago. And we had 1,000 signatures presented to the community board and 7 agencies of the city. And we're denied that process because the Corporation Council decided that it wasn't in the city's interest to remap us. So we were never mapped as parkland, although we are managed under the Operation Green Thumb program for the last 45 years or so. And I'd love to see us preserved. I'd like to see all open park spaces preserved. 10 years ago, we decided voluntarily to open our gates and leave them open during the day in any kind of presentable weather, just as a service to the community. So we have been effectively a park, and I would like to see us permanentized. That's not really a word,
My
sorry, but okay.
understanding about the new administration is that we're going to see the Mueller process shortened.
Okay, so that's the city charter thing.
well, thanks, guys, thanks, everyone. And I'll see you, there's a holiday party, or we'll see you at the tree lighting.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
See you all soon. Good to see you. Bye.
Thank you for coming.
Holiday party is the 8th, it's Monday, thank you.
Monday, okay, I should put that in my calendar.
Can we hang us up? Can you hit end?
Or wait, I do karaoke.
Can you hit end there?
Really awesome.
Let's do it.
No, yeah, we're all set, please. I wonder,